When you take a sip of coffee or drink your sweet tea, do you know where the raw materials for that beverage are coming from? What if I told you that there's a locally sourced plant that gives you all the energy boosting caffeine that you like, but it's sustainable, more environmentally friendly, and it grows right here in your backyard? I'm speaking of a leaf that has a long history here in America, from the indigenous people that consumed it to the early settlers, and the revival that it's experiencing today among artisan tea makers. This tea leaf can grow in the wild here, requiring no farming, no fertilizers, no pesticides, or anything of the such. In fact, according to an article in the Daytona Beach News Journal, the leaves are so plentiful here, and it's a sustainable product. Now, when I was a young boy, I was walking on a nature trail in Ponce Inlet, Florida, and I came across this tiny inconspicuous placard on the ground. It gave information about the plant behind it. It's told a story of a plant whose leaves were used by indigenous people to brew a beverage called black drink. Black drink was used in rituals for these people, and it was stated that Yaupon is actually one of America's only caffeine sources, if not the only caffeine source. Well, after some research, I found out the scientific name for this plant was Ilex vomitoria. The unfortunate name came from the fact that the Native Americans would make this black drink and would consume large quantities of it, and then they would regurgitate it. Now, this was kind of a purity ritual for them, and the person that was able to hold it down, according to Green Dean from Eat the Weeds, was he was moved up in the tribal leadership. As a matter of fact, according to the same source, the place name Osceola, which being in Central Florida, many should know, was actually an anglicized version of the word Osceola, which meant the black drink singer, which was the title given to the person who held down the beverage the longest. Well, we know nowadays that it's not an emetic, it doesn't make you throw up, but you can brew a morning pick-me-up with it. You can buy it from the stores, but if you live here, why not just go out into the wilderness and harvest it yourself? It's pretty easy to identify, and it grows almost everywhere. As a matter of fact, I picked some today from a park right down the street. I've seen it growing in people's yards. I wouldn't advise going into people's yards to harvest it, but there are many places. As a matter of fact, you can even go to your local hardware store or nursery and purchase it, because it's being used as like shrubs. There's even weeping varieties. According to Michael Palumbo, he wrote in an article that consumption of Yaupon decreased in the late 19th century, but the species is still widely used as an ornament for ornamental horticulture today. So you can find it growing around storefronts and all kinds of places as a hedge. So now that you have your Yaupon, what do you do with it? Well, if you bought it from the store, it's probably already prepared. Many ways to prepare it. You can roast it, you can drink it green. Now, I like to have it roasted, which is kind of the traditional way. I put them in the oven, roast them at 400 until they're nice and black, and then you brew it just like you would any other tea. And you get something that looks just like tea. And if you add a little bit of local honey, you have a 100% locally sourced beverage. It's pretty good. Now, it's actually popular in a lot of southern states, and an article at NPR.org also stated that at least one Texas restaurant has replaced its black tea with Yaupon. The article stated that the owner of the restaurant said Now the lunch crowd drinks 4 or 5 gallons daily. So, for people that like locally sourced stuff, this worked out pretty good for them. Yaupon actually doesn't contain as many bitter tannins as traditional tea. It doesn't require as much sugar to sweeten it up. And I like drinking it unsweet. It's either way. You can also have green tea with it, which I brewed this using non-roasted leaves. You can also do a combination, which kind of gives like an oolong tea flavor to it. So, here we are talking about a plant that has been enjoyed by so many people for centuries, maybe even longer. Though it was forgotten for a while, it was able to make a comeback thanks to local food movements, organic, wildcraft. So whether you buy it from the store or harvest it yourself from the park down the road, like I did, you should tip back a glass to history and enjoy North America's only caffeine source. Thank you for watching.